Welcome to our deep dive into this incredible world of deserts. We're going to uncover some surprising facts about these often misunderstood landscapes and the amazing creatures that call them home. Did you know that a desert doesn't always have to be a scorching wasteland?
Right?
Or that camels actually originated in a much colder climate?
Yeah, it's true. Deserts are way more diverse than most people realize. And when it comes to adaptation, some desert dwellers have truly remarkable stories.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly makes a desert a desert? Is it just about the sand and heat?
Well, the defining characteristic of a desert is actually low rainfall.
Okay.
It's all about the water budget, meaning the balance between precipitation and evaporation. Deserts receive very little rainfall, and what little moisture they do get tends to evaporate quickly due to the intense heat and often strong winds. This creates a challenging environment for life,
Yeah.
where water conservation becomes the key to survival.
So it's not necessarily about like scorching temperatures.
Not always, no. Some deserts, like the Atacama Desert in South America, are incredibly dry, but also surprisingly cold. And then you have deserts like the Gobi Desert in Asia, which experience extreme temperature swings between scorching summers and frigid winters. What unites all deserts is that water is scarce, and that shapes the entire ecosystem.
That makes sense. And speaking of ecosystems, I think most people picture deserts as being pretty barren, with just a few cacti and maybe a lizard or two. But is that really the case?
Not at all. Deserts are teeming with life, but it's often hidden or adapted in ways that make it less obvious. Think about it. Plants and animals have evolved incredible strategies to cope with the harsh conditions, from storing water in their tissues to being active only during the cooler parts of the day or night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a hidden world just waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. And the more we learn about desert ecosystems, the more we realize how interconnected they are with the rest of the planet. Deserts play a vital role in global climate patterns. They're home to unique and diverse species, and they even provide resources that support life in far-off regions.
Okay. I'm starting to see deserts in a whole new light here.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of those incredible adaptations you mentioned. I think the camel is probably the most iconic desert animal. I remember as a kid being fascinated by their humps and thinking they were full of water.
That's a common misconception. Camel humps actually store fat, which serves as a source of energy and insulation.
Okay.
But they do have some remarkable adaptations for water conservation.
So what's the secret to their desert survival?
Camels can go for long periods without drinking, thanks to their efficient kidneys, which produce highly concentrated urine. And their red blood cells are uniquely shaped to handle dehydration without clumping together. They even minimize water loss through breathing by condensing moisture in their nostrils.
Wow, those are some serious water-saving superpowers. I read somewhere that camels actually originated in North America. Is that true?
It is. Their evolutionary journey is fascinating. Camels evolved in a much colder environment than we associate them with today. Even venturing into the Arctic Circle, they developed adaptations to survive harsh winters. And it was these adaptations that ultimately paved the way for their success in deserts.
So they were already equipped to handle extreme conditions, even if it was like a different kind of extreme.
Precisely. They migrated across the Bering Land Bridge to Asia and Africa, diversifying and adapting to the new environments they encountered along the way.
That's incredible. It really challenges our assumptions about where animals belong, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And speaking of diverse desert environments, let's shift our focus to China, which has a wide range of desert ecosystems, each with its own unique set of challenges and adaptations.
All right, I'm ready for more. What kind of creatures are we talking about here?
Have you ever heard of the Pallas's cat?
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen pictures of them online. Aren't they those adorable, fluffy cats with the grumpy faces?
That's the one. They're incredibly elusive and perfectly adapted to the harsh, rocky terrain of the high deserts. Their thick fur provides insulation against the extreme temperatures, and those piercing eyes are perfect for hunting in low-light conditions.
It's amazing how, even in the toughest environments, nature finds a way to pack in the cuteness. Are there any other interesting creatures in these Chinese deserts?
Definitely. There's the tiny desert cat, which, as its name suggests, is remarkably small but a fierce predator in its own right.
Wow.
It has sandy fur for camouflage and is incredibly agile, making it a successful hunter in the desert sands.
So even in the vastness of the desert, there's this whole miniature world playing out.
Exactly. And then there's the striped polecat, which has the unfortunate nickname of Stinky Dog due to its powerful musk defense.
Okay, that doesn't sound very cuddly. What's their role in the ecosystem?
Despite the less than flattering nickname, they play a vital role in maintaining the balance of the desert. They control rodent populations and help to protect vegetation, which is crucial in such a fragile environment.
So every creature has its place, even the stinky dogs of the desert.
Absolutely. And speaking of places, we can't forget about one of the most iconic inhabitants of China's deserts, the elusive Palace's cat, which has recently become an internet sensation.
Oh yeah, I've seen those memes. They're like grumpy, fluffy bundles of cuteness.
Exactly. But beyond their meme-worthy appearance, they're incredibly well adapted to their harsh environment.
Right.
Those piercing eyes are perfect for hunting in low light, and their thick fur provides insulation against the extreme temperatures.
I'm sensing a theme here. Even in the harshest deserts, nature finds a way to make some seriously adorable creatures.
It's true. And then we had the desert cat, a master of camouflage with its sandy fur and a surprisingly fierce predator for its small size. It's a testament to the adaptability of life in these challenging environments.
It seems like China's deserts are teeming with unique and fascinating creatures. But I'm guessing these fragile ecosystems are facing some serious challenges, especially with the growing impact of human activity.
You're right. Desertification is a major concern with deserts expanding due to factors like overgrazing, deforestation, and climate change. This puts immense pressure on the delicate balance of desert life.
So it's not just about the natural challenges of the desert itself, but also the human element adding to the equation.
Precisely. But there are glimmers of hope. China has been at the forefront of combating desertification with large-scale tree planting programs and innovative sand-to-soil technologies that aim to restore degraded land.
That's inspiring. It's a reminder that even in the face of daunting challenges, human ingenuity can help tip the scales back towards balance.
It's a delicate dance for sure, but understanding the complex web of life in these unique environments is the first step towards protecting them.
Well said. And speaking of understanding, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the surprising diversity of desert landscapes to the incredible adaptations of desert creatures. But there's one more fascinating story I want to dig into before we wrap up this part of our desert deep dive. The tale of a desert that wasn't always a desert, the Ulaanbaatar Desert in China.
Yes. The Ulaanbaatar Desert offers a compelling example of how human activity can dramatically reshape a landscape over time. It wasn't always the sandy expanse we see today.
Okay, so rewind the clock for us. What did this area look like before it became a desert?
Imagine lush grasslands teeming with life. During the Pleistocene epoch, the Ulaanbaatar region was part of a vast, fertile plain, but over centuries, human activities began to alter the landscape.
So how did this transformation from grassland to desert actually occur?
It was a gradual process driven by a combination of factors. During the Qin and Han dynasties, the area was heavily settled and cultivated, with large-scale agriculture and grazing. This put pressure on the natural vegetation.
So essentially, human activities started to tip the balance, making the ecosystem more vulnerable to change.
Exactly. And then as dynasties changed and political priorities shifted, the area was gradually abandoned. Without human intervention, the delicate balance tipped further, and the process of desertification began to take hold.
So it wasn't an overnight change, but a slow and steady shift towards a more arid landscape.
Precisely. And as the centuries passed, the Ulaanbaatar region gradually transformed into the desert we see today, a stark reminder of the long-term impacts human actions can have on the environment.
This story of the Ulaanbaatar Desert is a powerful illustration of the interconnectedness of human activity and environmental change. Sobering thought, but also a reminder of our responsibility to understand and manage our impact on these fragile ecosystems.
Couldn't agree more. It highlights the need for sustainable practices and a deeper understanding of the delicate balance that sustains desert life.
Well said.
Welcome back to our desert exploration. You know, the story of the Ulaanbaatar Desert is a powerful reminder that these landscapes are constantly evolving, both due to natural processes and human actions.
You're right. And that evolution can have some pretty surprising consequences, right? Didn't the expansion of the Ulaanbaatar Desert actually force a change in the route of the Baotolanzhou Railway?
That's right. Initially, the railway was planned to run along the western side of the Yellow River, cutting right through the heart of the Ulaanbaatar Desert. But by the mid-20th century, the desert had advanced so much that this route became impossible.
So they had to reroute the entire railway because of the desert. It's incredible. It really shows the power of nature to reshape human plans.
It does. The engineers had to shift the railway eastward to the opposite bank of the Yellow River, adding a significant detour to avoid the encroaching sands.
Talk about an engineering challenge.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges, let's talk about how humans have been trying to tackle the issue of desertification. Particularly in China, I've heard about some pretty incredible efforts to push back against the desert's advance.
One of the most ambitious initiatives is the Green Great Wall Project. It's a massive tree planting campaign aimed at creating a vast forest belt to hold back the encroaching desert.
So it's literally a wall, but made of trees.
Exactly. Millions of trees have been planted over the decades, creating a green barrier that helps stabilize the soil, reduce wind erosion, and even influence local weather patterns.
I imagine planting trees in a desert environment comes with its own set of unique challenges.
Of course. It requires careful planning, from selecting drought-resistant species to ensuring access to water in those arid conditions. But the results have been remarkable in some areas.
What about some of the more high-tech approaches to combating desertification? I've heard about some fascinating innovations in that area.
One promising technology is what's known as sand-to-soil technology. It uses a special binding agent to transform loose sand into fertile soil.
So they're basically engineering fertile ground right out of the desert itself. How does that even work?
It's a bit like molecular gastronomy, but for the desert. The binding agent is made from plant extracts. When it's mixed with sand and water, it creates a stable, nutrient-rich soil structure.
And this new soil can actually support plant life.
Yes, it helps restore degraded land and create a more hospitable environment for plants to take root. It's still in the early stages, but the potential is enormous.
It's inspiring to see these kinds of solutions being developed. It shows that we're not just passively accepting the challenges of desertification, but actively seeking ways to reverse the trend.
Exactly. It's a reminder that human ingenuity can play a role in restoring balance to these delicate ecosystems.
Speaking of restoring balance, there's another desert dweller that often gets a bad rap, but plays a complex role in the ecosystem: the desert locust.
Ah, yes, locusts. They certainly have a reputation for causing havoc.
They're known for swarming and devouring crops, right?
They can be incredibly destructive when they swarm, that's true.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating about desert locusts is their incredible ability to adapt to the harsh desert environment.
So what's their secret?
They have a remarkable life cycle that allows them to shift between solitary and gregarious phases depending on environmental conditions. When resources are scarce, they remain solitary, blending into the background.
So they're like desert ninjas biding their time.
Exactly. But when conditions become favorable, like after a period of rains, something incredible happens. They transform into their gregarious phase, forming massive swarms that can cover vast distances.
And that's when they become the crop-devouring machines we hear about in the news.
That's right. These swarms can number in the billions, and their appetite is legendary. They can decimate crops, causing widespread food shortages.
It sounds like a scene from a disaster movie. But on the flip side, locust swarms must provide some ecological benefit, right? They can't just be agents of destruction.
You're right. While their impact on agriculture can be devastating, locust swarms also play a role in nutrient cycling. Their droppings fertilize the soil, and their bodies provide a food source for other animals.
There's a complex relationship with both positive and negative impacts.
Exactly. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of desert life: the symbiotic relationships that have evolved between different species.
Symbiosis, nature's ultimate team effort. What are some examples of these partnerships in the desert world?
One classic example is the relationship between acacia trees and ants.
Okay, I'm picturing ants crawling all over a tree. How does that benefit either of them?
Acacia trees provide shelter and food for the ants in the form of hollow thorns and sugary nectar. In return, the ants fiercely defend the tree from herbivores and even clear away competing vegetation.
So it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. The ants get a home and food, and the tree gets protection.
Precisely. And there are countless other examples of symbiosis in the desert, from the birds that clean the teeth of crocodiles to the fungi that help plants absorb nutrients from the soil.
It's a reminder that cooperation is just as important as competition in the struggle for survival, especially in challenging environments like deserts.
Absolutely. And speaking of cooperation, we can't forget about the human communities that have thrived in desert environments for centuries.
That's right. From the Bedouins of the Sahara to the Aboriginal people of Australia, humans have found ways to not just survive, but flourish in these seemingly inhospitable landscapes.
These cultures have developed deep knowledge of the desert, understanding its rhythms, resources, and dangers. They've adapted their lifestyles, their clothing, and even their social structures to thrive in these challenging environments.
It's a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. We often think of deserts as empty and desolate, but they've been home to vibrant cultures for millennia.
Well said. And as we continue to explore and understand desert ecosystems, we can learn valuable lessons from these cultures about living in harmony with nature, even in the face of adversity.
I love that perspective. It's a reminder that deserts aren't just barren wastelands, but living, breathing landscapes with a rich history and a vital role to play in the health of our planet. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up part 2 of our desert deep dive. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll delve into some of the latest scientific discoveries that are changing our understanding of these incredible ecosystems. Welcome back to our desert exploration. It's fascinating to think about how human perception of deserts has evolved over time. We often see them as desolate wastelands, yet they're teeming with life and have sustained diverse cultures for centuries.
It's true. And as we continue to study these ecosystems, we're uncovering even more secrets about their complexity and resilience. Modern research is revealing some incredible insights into the hidden workings of deserts, from the microscopic life beneath the surface to the impact of dust storms on global climate patterns.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
What are some of the latest scientific discoveries that are changing our understanding of deserts?
Well, one area of exciting research is focused on the microbial life that thrives beneath the desert surface.
Okay.
These tiny organisms play a crucial role in nutrient cycling, soil formation, and even water retention.
So there's this whole hidden world beneath our feet. It's amazing to think that deserts, which we often perceive as barren, are actually teeming with life, even if it's invisible to the naked eye.
Exactly. And these microbial communities are incredibly diverse and resilient, adapting to the extreme conditions of the desert. Studying them could be key to developing sustainable solutions for land management and even combating desertification.
It's incredible how something so small can have such a significant impact. It really highlights the interconnectedness of all living things. What other discoveries are scientists making?
Another fascinating area of research is focused on the role of dust storms in global climate patterns.
Dust storms. I would thought they were just a nuisance for people living in desert regions. How could they possibly affect the global climate?
It turns out that these massive plumes of dust carried by winds across continents can have a significant impact on atmospheric circulation, cloud formation, and even the reflectivity of sunlight.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. So these tiny particles of dust are actually playing a role in the Earth's climate system.
They are, and understanding how these dust storms interact with the atmosphere is crucial for predicting future climate changes and developing strategies to mitigate their impact.
It seems like the more we learn about deserts, the more we realize how interconnected they are with the rest of the planet. They're not just isolated landscapes, they're integral parts of a complex global system.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to a crucial question. How can we balance human needs with the preservation of these delicate desert ecosystems?
Yeah, it's a question that feels more urgent than ever as we face the challenges of climate change, population growth, and resource scarcity.
It's a complex issue, but I believe that through understanding the dynamics of desert ecosystems, learning from the wisdom of desert cultures, and embracing innovative solutions, we can find ways to coexist sustainably with these remarkable landscapes.
That's a hopeful thought, and it feels like a fitting way to wrap up our desert deep dive. We've journeyed through scorching sands, encountered incredible creatures, and uncovered hidden worlds beneath the surface. Most importantly, I think we've gained a deeper appreciation for the vital role these often overlooked ecosystems play in the health of our planet.
Well said. As we continue to explore and learn, I hope we can all find ways to be better stewards of these remarkable landscapes, ensuring that their beauty and wonder inspire generations to come.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this desert adventure. We hope you've come away with a newfound appreciation for these incredible ecosystems and a thirst to learn even more. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering the wonders of our planet. Until next time.